Welcome back, Rare Coin Insider. Imagine holding a small, seemingly ordinary copper coin in your hand, something that most people would overlook without a second thought. Yet hidden within that tiny piece of metal is a story that stretches across decades of American history, economics, and craftsmanship. And today we dive deep into the fascinating world of the 1-cent USA 1962 D coin. A coin that at first glance may appear simple, but carries layers of meaning, intrigue, and collector fascination that many never realize. And as you listen closely, you begin to see how even the smallest currency can hold immense historical and monetary significance. The 1962 D Lincoln penny was minted in Denver, which is indicated by the small D mint mark located just below the date on the obverse side of the coin. And this tiny letter plays a massive role in determining the identity, and sometimes the value of the coin, because without it, the coin would belong to a completely different mint. And collectors pay very close attention to such details since mint marks can drastically influence rarity and desirability in the numismatic world. Now let's talk about the design, because this is where artistry meets history. The obverse of the coin features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, a design created by Victor David Brenner and first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. And by 1962, this design had already become one of the most recognizable coin portraits in the world, with Lincoln's calm yet strong expression symbolizing unity and resilience, while the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty" to the left, and the date, 1962, along with the mint mark to the right complete the classic look that millions of people handle daily. Turning the coin over, the reverse design shows two wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, a design often referred to as the wheat penny, which had been in use since 1909 and continued until 1958. However, here is where many people get confused, because by 1962 the wheat design had already been replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse, meaning the 1962 D coin actually features the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side, showcasing the famous monument in Washington, D.C., a design introduced in 1959 by Frank Gasparo. And if you look very closely at the memorial, you can even see a tiny representation of Lincoln's statue inside, making it one of the most detailed coin engravings of its time. The composition of the 1962 D penny is another important aspect that collectors consider, as it is made primarily of copper, specifically 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that rich reddish-brown color when in uncirculated condition. And over time many of these coins develop darker tones due to oxidation, which can either decrease or sometimes increase their appeal depending on the collector's preference. And the coin weighs approximately 3.11 grams, a standard weight for pennies of that era before the composition changed in later years due to rising copper prices. What makes this coin particularly interesting is not just its design or composition, but the era in which it was produced. The early 1960s were a time of economic growth and social change in the United States, and coins like the 1962 D penny were produced in massive quantities to support everyday commerce, with the Denver Mint striking billions of these coins, which might make you think they are extremely common and therefore not valuable. But in the world of coin collecting, rarity is not always about low mintage. Sometimes it is about condition, mint errors, and unique characteristics that set certain coins apart from the rest. And here is where the story begins to take a more intriguing turn, because while most 1962 D pennies are indeed common and worth only a small amount above face value, there are specific versions and conditions of this coin that can be worth significantly more, especially those that are in mint state condition with a strong original red color, known among collectors as RD or red designation, and coins that have been preserved without wear, scratches, or discoloration can fetch impressive prices in the collector market. But then comes the bold and attention-grabbing claim that some versions of this coin could be worth up to $251 million, which immediately raises eyebrows and demands scrutiny, because such a figure is extraordinarily high and far beyond typical coin values, even for the rarest coins in the world. And this is where it becomes crucial to separate myth from reality, hype from verified market data, and understand that while certain rare coins have indeed sold for millions, such as unique mint errors or historically significant pieces, the standard 1962 penny does not reach such astronomical values under normal circumstances. Still, the idea of hidden treasure in everyday objects continues to captivate people, and stories of rare coins being discovered in pocket change fuel the excitement, encouraging collectors and enthusiasts to examine their coins more closely, searching for unusual features like double dies, off-center strikes, or other minting errors that can significantly increase a coin's value. As you continue to explore the 1962 penny, you start to realize that its true worth lies not only in potential monetary value but also in its connection to history, craftsmanship, and the thrill of discovery, because every coin has passed through countless hands, witnessed countless transactions, and silently recorded a piece of time, making it more than just currency, but a small artifact of human activity and economic evolution. And this is only the beginning of the story, because there are still deeper layers to uncover, including rare error varieties, grading systems, auction records, and the real market value that collectors are willing to pay today, which might surprise you in ways you did not expect. As we move deeper into the world of the 1962 Lincoln penny, the conversation naturally shifts toward what truly separates an ordinary coin from one that collectors chase with intense enthusiasm, and that difference often lies in the smallest imperfections, the subtle anomalies that occurred during the minting process, because in numismatics, mistakes are not flaws, they are treasures. And the 1962 penny is no exception when it comes to these fascinating error varieties that can transform a 1-cent coin into something far more valuable. One of the most talked about features among collectors is the possibility of double die errors, a phenomenon that occurs when the coin die used to strike the design has a slight misalignment during its creation, resulting in a doubling effect on certain letters or numbers. And while major double dies are more famous in other years, even minor doubling on a 1962 penny can spark interest, especially when it is visible to the naked eye or under magnification, with areas like the date, the word liberty, or in God we trust, becoming key points of inspection for collectors who carefully analyze every detail. Another intriguing error type involves repunched mint marks, often abbreviated as RPM, which happens when the mint mark, D, was punched into the die more than once at slightly different angles, creating a shadow-like or overlapping appearance, and these RPM varieties are highly collectible because they represent a moment in minting history when precision tools were manually adjusted, leaving behind unique signatures that no modern automated process would replicate, and finding a clear RPM on a 1962 penny can significantly boost its value beyond that of a standard example. Off-center strikes also add another layer of excitement, where the coin is not perfectly aligned during the striking process, resulting in part of the design being missing while the rest appears shifted, and depending on how dramatic the off-center strike is, such coins can become visually striking and highly desirable, especially if the date and mint mark remain visible, because these details confirm the coin's identity while showcasing its unusual production error. Then, there are die cracks and die breaks, subtle lines or raised areas on the coin caused by damage to the die itself, and while these might seem like defects, they actually serve as identifying markers for specific die states, allowing collectors to trace the life cycle of a particular die and categorize coins accordingly, turning what might appear to be a simple crack into a point of historical and technical interest. Now beyond errors, the condition of the coin plays an equally crucial role in determining its value, and this is where the grading system comes into play, a standardized method used by professionals to evaluate coins based on factors like wear, luster, strike quality, and overall preservation, with grades ranging from poor all the way up to mint state 70, and for a 1962D penny to command a high price, it typically needs to fall within the higher mint state range, such as MS65, MS66, or even higher, where the coin shows little to no signs of circulation and retains much of its original brilliance. Color designation is another important factor, especially for copper coins like the 1962D penny, which are categorized as red, red-brown, or brown depending on how much of the original mint color remains, and collectors often pay a premium for coins that are classified as red, because they appear closer to how the coin looked when it was first minted, with a bright, vibrant copper sheen that has not yet faded over time. When we look at actual market values, the reality becomes clearer and more grounded compared to the exaggerated claims sometimes seen online, because while a typical circulated 1962D penny might only be worth a few cents, uncirculated examples in high grades can sell for significantly more, sometimes reaching tens or even hundreds of dollars depending on their quality. And coins with notable errors or exceptional appeal can push those values even higher, entering the range where serious collectors begin to compete for ownership. Auction records provide some of the most reliable insights into a coin's true market value, as they reflect real transactions between buyers and sellers, and over the years, high-grade 1962D pennies have appeared in auctions where they achieved impressive prices relative to their face value, proving that even a coin produced in the billions can still hold significant worth when preserved in near-perfect condition. Yet the claim of a $251 million valuation remains an outlier, a figure that does not align with known auction results or established numismatic records, and it highlights an important lesson for collectors and enthusiasts, which is to approach such claims with a critical mindset, verifying information through trusted sources, and understanding the difference between rare possibilities and realistic expectations. Because while it is exciting to imagine discovering a coin worth a fortune, the true joy of collecting often lies in the knowledge, the hunt, and the appreciation of history rather than the promise of unimaginable wealth. Still, the allure of the 1962D penny continues to grow, especially among new collectors who are drawn to its accessibility and the possibility of finding something unique within a common coin, and this accessibility makes it an excellent starting point for anyone interested in coin collecting, as it allows beginners to learn about grading, error identification, and market dynamics without needing to invest heavily from the start. And as you continue to explore this coin further, you begin to see how each detail, from the smallest mint mark to the faintest die crack, contributes to a much larger story, a story that blends art, history, economics, and human curiosity into a single, tangible object that fits in the palm of your hand, yet holds a world of discovery within it. And there is still more to uncover as we move forward into even deeper insights about its collector's significance, hidden factors, and the psychology behind why people are willing to pay far more than 1 cent for a piece of copper. As the journey into the 1962D Lincoln penny continues, the discussion naturally evolves from physical characteristics and errors into something more subtle yet equally powerful, the psychology of collecting and the deeper reasons why a coin like this, despite being produced in enormous numbers, can still command attention, admiration, and sometimes surprisingly high prices in the market, because at its core, coin collecting is not just about metal, it is about connection, history, and the human desire to own a piece of time. Collectors often describe a feeling that goes beyond logic when they come across a coin in exceptional condition, especially one that has survived decades without losing its original brilliance, and the 1962D penny in high-grade red condition represents exactly that kind of appeal. It is like finding a perfectly preserved snapshot of 1962, untouched by circulation, carrying with it the same shine it had the moment it left the Denver Mint, and this sense of preservation creates emotional value that goes far beyond the coin's face value or even its metal content. There is also the concept of population reports, which play a major role in determining how rare a coin truly is in top condition, because while billions of 1962 pennies were minted, only a tiny fraction have survived in near-perfect grades like MS-67 or higher, and professional grading services keep detailed records of how many coins exist at each grade level. And when collectors see that only a limited number of coins have been certified at the highest grades, it creates a sense of scarcity that drives demand and increases value. This is where competition enters the picture, especially among advanced collectors who participate in registry sets, collections where individuals aim to assemble the highest graded examples of each coin in a series, and within these competitive environments, even a small difference in grade can lead to a significant difference in price, because owning one of the finest known examples becomes a matter of prestige. And the 1962 penny, despite its common origins, can become a key piece in such collections if it meets the highest standards. Another factor that adds depth to the story is the historical context of the early 1960s, a time when the United States was navigating through the Cold War, experiencing technological advancements, and undergoing social changes, and coins like the 1962 penny were silently present during all of it, passing through hands in grocery stores, gas stations, and everyday transactions, making them witnesses to history in a way that few other objects can claim. And for collectors, this connection to a specific era adds an intangible layer of value that cannot be measured purely in dollars. Now let's address the idea of hidden gems, because one of the most exciting aspects of coin collecting is the possibility that valuable coins might still be out there, sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, or old collections. And while the chances of finding an extremely high-value 1962 penny in circulation today are relatively low, it is not impossible to come across unsearched rolls or inherited collections where coins have been stored for decades, preserving their condition and potential value, and this possibility keeps the hobby alive and constantly engaging. At the same time, it is important to understand how the market behaves, because coin values are not fixed, they fluctuate based on demand, trends, and collector interest, and while a high-grade 1962 penny might sell for a strong price today, its value could change over time as new examples are discovered or as collector preferences shift, and this dynamic nature of the market adds another layer of complexity, making coin collecting both an art and a science. There is also a growing influence of online platforms and digital marketplaces, which have made it easier than ever for collectors to buy, sell, and research coins, and this increased accessibility has brought more attention to coins like the 1962 penny, allowing people from all over the world to participate in the hobby, share discoveries, and learn from each other. But it has also led to the spread of exaggerated claims and misinformation, particularly when it comes to extremely high valuations like the $251 million figure often mentioned in sensational content. In reality, even the most valuable coins ever sold, such as rare early American coins or unique mint errors, reach values in the millions, not hundreds of millions, and while it is theoretically possible for a coin to achieve extraordinary value under very specific circumstances, such as being one of a kind with immense historical significance, the 1962 penny does not fall into that category under normal conditions, and understanding this helps collectors maintain realistic expectations while still appreciating the coin's genuine worth. Yet despite this reality, the fascination does not fade, because the true beauty of the 1962 penny lies in its accessibility combined with its potential for discovery. It is a coin that anyone can own, yet it still offers layers of depth for those willing to explore, from studying die varieties to understanding grading nuances. And this balance between simplicity and complexity is what makes it such a choice among both beginners and experienced collectors. And as the story continues to unfold, there are still more insights to explore, including practical tips for identifying valuable specimens, how to properly store and preserve coins to maintain their condition, and what steps collectors can take to maximize the value of their finds in the ever-evolving marketplace, because in the end, every coin has a story. But it is up to the collector to uncover it and decide what it is truly worth. As we reach the final stretch of this deep exploration into the 1962 Lincoln penny, the focus shifts towards something every collector, whether beginner or experienced, eventually realizes, and that is the importance of knowledge, patience, and careful handling when it comes to turning an ordinary coin into a meaningful and potentially valuable asset, because even though this coin was produced in massive numbers, the difference between a common piece and a sought-after collectible often comes down to how well it has been preserved and how accurately it has been evaluated. One of the most critical steps in this journey is proper identification, and that means taking the time to closely examine the coin under good lighting, ideally with a magnifying glass or loupe, checking for details such as the clarity of the mint mark, the sharpness of Lincoln's portrait, and any unusual features that might indicate an error or variety. Because many valuable coins go unnoticed simply because their owners never looked closely enough to recognize what they had. Preservation is equally important because the condition of a coin can change dramatically depending on how it is stored, and collectors always emphasize the need to avoid touching the surface directly with bare hands, as oils and dirt can cause long-term damage, instead using proper holders such as coin flips, capsules, or albums designed specifically for numismatic storage, keeping the coin in a dry, stable environment away from humidity and extreme temperatures, which can lead to corrosion or discoloration over time. Another key aspect is authentication and grading, and while many collectors enjoy evaluating their own coins, there comes a point where professional grading services play a crucial role, providing an unbiased assessment of a coin's condition and authenticity, sealing it in a protective holder, and assigning it a grade that is recognized across the market. And for a 1962 penny that appears to be in exceptionally high condition or shows signs of a rare error, submitting it for professional grading can significantly increase its credibility and potential resale value. Selling a coin is an entirely different skill set, because the value of a coin is ultimately determined by what a buyer is willing to pay at a given moment, and choosing the right platform, whether it is an auction house, an online marketplace, or a direct sale to another collector, can make a noticeable difference in the final price, and timing also plays a role, as market demand can fluctuate based on trends, economic conditions, and collector interest. It is also worth noting that building a collection is often more rewarding than chasing a single high-value piece, because coins, like the 1962 penny, can serve as part of a larger narrative, representing a specific era, a complete series, or a personal journey through the world of numismatics, and over time, a well-curated collection can become far more valuable, both financially and emotionally, than any individual coin on its own. Now coming back to the widely circulated claim of a $251 million value, it becomes clear that while such figures capture attention and spark curiosity, they should be viewed with a critical eye, because the real market for the 1962 penny, even at its highest levels, operates within a much more realistic range, where exceptional examples might reach hundreds or even a few $1,000s under rare circumstances, especially if they combine top-tier grading with unique error characteristics, but not anywhere near the exaggerated figures often mentioned in viral content. And yet, this does not diminish the excitement, because the true magic of coins lies in their stories, in the idea that something so small and common can still hold layers of history, artistry, and possibility, and the 1962 D Lincoln penny is a perfect example of that balance, a coin that millions have seen, yet few have truly understood. A coin that invites curiosity and rewards those who take the time to look deeper. So the next time you come across a simple penny, take a moment before you dismiss it, look closely at its date, its mint mark, its color and condition, because within that tiny piece of copper could be a connection to the past, a lesson in detail, and perhaps even a small but meaningful discovery, and while it may not make you a millionaire overnight, it can open the door to a fascinating world where history, value, and human curiosity come together in the most unexpected ways. And in the end, that is the true worth of the 1962 D penny, not just in dollars or cents, but in the stories it carries, the knowledge it offers, and the journey it inspires, because sometimes the greatest treasures are not the ones that change your bank balance, but the ones that change the way you see the ordinary, turning it into something extraordinary.